Recently, Nintendo has announced that they'll be remaking Fire Emblem Gaiden. While I am quite excited for the game to come out, I can't help but be a bit worried about how the final product will be, seeing how Gaiden is considered the black sheep of the series. So after doing some research of the game and seeing how it plays, I'll be comparing the remake from what was shown in the trailer compared to the older game, seeing what improvements and stuff have been made and what has not been changed. Now, being an NES game, there really wasn't a lot you could do with the hardware, such as with the story, which seems to be improved from going off from the new intro cutscene with Alm training, and some of the anime cutscenes that they've added into the game. While that is cool and all, I mostly would like to see how the gameplay was improved on. There do seem to be some changes done with this remake, and I'll be going over some of those along with some of the things that have not been changed. For the things that have changed, the first thing that strikes me are how much faster the battles seem to be, which is not only an improvement with Gaiden, but with Fates as well, since I felt the battle animations did take quite a while with some characters. In Gaiden, if you want to promote your characters, you would have to go through a dungeon, with all of them pretty much just being the same bland box. But there seems to be a bit more to the dungeons than just being a box with an enemy encounter. Promoting also looks like it's been improved as well. Originally, the game would just go through your units one at a time, asking, hey, do you want to promote this into this class or no? Which was kind of annoying, especially if you had a unit that could be promoted into multiple classes than just one, such as the Villager, which there's more than one in Gaiden. It also looks like the world map is so much easier to move around in. For the original game, you'd either have to tell Alm or Celica to move, and then tell them which direction they should move, and then confirm you want to go to that direction. Granted, it looks like the game still wants you to confirm if you want to go to an area, but it seems like only if there's going to be a battle there, or so it looks so far. Should also mention that they've added battle previews, which is a staple of the Fire Emblem games to this day and age, so I'm really glad to see that into the game, along with being able to see where enemies can move to. I did not enjoy counting tile spaces just to know where the enemy would go to see if they would attack me or not. Now for the things that seem to be the same from the original game. When I was watching a unit cast magic, I've noticed that there was no tome in their hands. In the original game, some characters learn magic as they level up. Black magic for offensive spells, and white magic for healing-based magic. It looks like that this will stay the same. I'm not sure if magic will still cost you health in the remake or not. Also, if an enemy is going to attack you but they don't have enough strength to harm you, it'll still do 1 damage instead of no damage. It looks like that'll still be a thing, nothing major or anything, just something to point out. Now this is where I get a little worried. The maps in Gaiden are, well, not good. You get these maps that would just be a huge empty field with some trees randomly placed on the map, maybe a building or a river to break things up. Other than dungeons, it seems like the maps haven't been changed at all, which really worries me. In Gaiden, the maps would just have a whole bunch of nothing, and sometimes you would just have to wait for the enemies to even reach you, since they're so far out sometimes. Or there would be times where they'll just swarm you since they're all so close, with the only cover being a randomly placed forest to increase your evasion. I'm hoping that won't be the case with every single map, but if the maps are simply copy and pasted with a fresh coat of paint, then that would be a really big problem. One of the things that wasn't really shown off were items. In most Fire Emblem games, you could give a character multiple weapons that they could bring with them into battle, and choose between needed weapons. With Gaiden, you can only bring one weapon to overlap the default weapon, or give them a shield to improve their defense. Although with archers, stronger bows will give them more range, and they can also attack one space away, and I really don't like that. I might be alone in this, but I want the archers to be toned down a bit, since they do get a lot of reach, and do a fair amount of damage. Or I could just be salty about archers give me a hard time. I should also mention that weapons in Gaiden do not break, which is a good chance for them to improve on the unbreakable weapon system in Fates, and maybe allow characters to toggle between different weapons in a given map, rather than just giving them one weapon for them to stick with the whole map. Now I might be silly for asking this, but I would like to see the weapon triangle be in the remake as well, since it wasn't in the original. This is probably going to be a given since Shadow Dragon had it and the weapon triangle was not present in the original version of that. And along with the weapon triangle, I think the game should also have some rebalancing, which would give more thought into battles since a lot of the enemies in the beginning of the game were very weak. Along with the rebalancing, I think the growth rates really need some improvement since they're pretty bad in Gaiden. You'd only get like 1 or 2 stat boosts per level, 3 if you're really lucky. It's really crazy to say that 50% is really high, and almost 20% luck boost is considered average. And it isn't much better the villagers either. Out of the first 3 you get, Cliff is the only one who actually has some decent growth. Which I also find really funny that he can learn most of the spells between the 3, but he has 0% resist growth. Go figure. For the more casual audience, I feel like that casual mode should stay in there for those who are new to the series, along with those who just aren't so good at the Fire Emblem games. And then the dungeons, maybe you could have just more than one set of enemies that you could fight, so you could grind up more experience for people who are having trouble with a map, so they can just go grind up some experience and get some extra levels to help give them an extra edge. And for those looking for the challenge, they could just as easily skip those, since those battles will not be mandatory. Now, in Phoenix mode, I think that should be excluded, since it really takes away from the series with it being a strategy game, and if you take the strategy out of a strategy game, it kind of makes it pointless to even play. Even with some of my worries about the game, I will still make sure this is a day one purchase for me, since I do get a lot of enjoyment out of the Fire Emblem games, even with its weaker entries. So I do look forward to the game coming out, and I'm probably going to waste all my free time on the game when it first comes out. What about you guys? Are you excited for Fire Emblem Echos coming out, or a bit worried of how it's going to come out? Feel free to comment below, or you can do whatever. I'm not really going to force you to do anything, really. Totally up to you. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like to help support the channel, or even subscribe if you want to see more. With that said, I hope to see you all again. Until next time.